Some things are left behind because people forget them. Others are left behind because someone wants them to be found. When Thomas Mercer bought the old house on Willow Street, he was looking for nothing more than an inexpensive place to live. The house had been empty for nearly 20 years. The paint was faded, the porch sagged, and the old windows rattled whenever the wind blew. But Thomas liked the quiet. There was something peaceful about a house that had stopped trying to impress anyone. One Saturday afternoon, while repairing an upstairs bedroom, Thomas removed an old picture frame from the wall. Behind it, he noticed that the wallpaper was a different color. He ran his fingers along the edge and found a narrow seam. He pulled at it, and a piece of wallpaper came loose. Behind it was a small space between the plaster and the wooden wall, and inside that space was an envelope. It was yellow with age. There was no stamp, no address. Only 4 words written across the front in faded blue ink. "Please don't forget me." Thomas stared at it for several seconds. Then he opened it. The letter was dated October 14, 1957. It began, "Dear Margaret." The writer was a young man named Daniel. He wrote that he and Margaret were in love and planned to marry. But Daniel had been offered a job several states away, and he had to leave. He promised Margaret he would return. He told her not to believe anything she heard while he was gone. Then he wrote something that made Thomas stop reading. "If my letter never reaches you, Margaret, remember this: I did not leave you." Thomas read that sentence twice. Daniel said he would return on November 3rd. He even wrote down the train he planned to take. But the letter ended there. Thomas couldn't stop thinking about it. Who was Margaret? And what had happened to Daniel? The next morning, Thomas went to the county records office. After hours of searching, he found the name Margaret Hale. She had lived in the house with her parents in the 1950s. She had never married. She died in 1998. Thomas sat staring at the record. He had expected to find an old love story. Instead, he had found a woman who apparently spent her entire life alone. But there was something else. Margaret had never moved away from Willow Street. She had lived in that house until the day she died. Thomas went home and looked at the letter again. If Daniel had promised to return, why hadn't he? And why had Margaret never married? The following day, Thomas searched old newspaper archives for Daniel Mercer. What he found made his stomach tighten. Daniel Mercer, 23 years old, had been reported missing on November 4, 1957. Thomas kept searching. Another article mentioned a passenger who had fallen from a railroad bridge late that night. No body had ever been recovered. Thomas looked at the name again. Daniel Mercer. The same name. The same night. Daniel had disappeared exactly 1 day after the date written in the letter. Thomas returned home with the letter in his hand. But now, he had more questions than answers. Had Daniel really intended to come home? Had Margaret ever learned what happened to him? And if she hadn't, why had she never married? There was only one person who might know, an elderly woman who had grown up near the house and had known Margaret. As a young girl, Thomas found her name in the records of the local historical society. He called her. She agreed to meet him the next afternoon. Thomas brought a copy of the letter. He placed it on the table in front of her. The woman read it silently. When she reached the sentence, "I did not leave you," she stopped. She looked at Thomas and asked, "Where did you find this?" Thomas answered, "Inside the wall of the old house on Willow Street." The woman was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that Thomas would never forget. Margaret waited for him. Thomas looked at her. Waited for who? The woman slowly pushed the letter back toward him. Daniel. Thomas asked how long she had waited. The woman looked toward the window. Then she said, until the day she died. Thomas felt a chill run through him, because suddenly the story of the letter was no longer just a story about a man who disappeared. It was about a woman who had spent more than 40 years waiting for someone who never came home. But there was something else the old woman knew, something she had never told anyone outside the family. And when Thomas heard it, he finally understood why the porch light at the old house had always been left burning on the same night every year. What happened on that night in 1957, and why Margaret continued waiting for Daniel for the rest of her life, is the rest of the story. Join us for part 2 of the stories we never told.